Today I'm in Paddington, London, and I'm down here at the canal. But I'm not here to talk about canals and boats. I'm here to talk about Sir Alexander Fleming Wetherspoon pub. Now, this whole area was regenerated at the start of the 2000s. It used to be a rundown, dirty industrial area. These canals basically were used in the 18th and 1900s to bring things into London from Birmingham and also to send things out from London up to Birmingham. But the canal systems aren't really used anymore. We've got the motorway networks and the rail systems. So the canals these days are more of a pleasure area. People can hire longboats and those sort of things and just pootle around. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about one of the newest Wetherspoon pubs in the whole of the portfolio. This pub opened on the 30th of September 2025, so it's virtually brand new. So let's go inside and check out what it's like, and more importantly, to see what the food is like. So here I am at my table in the Sir Alexander Fleming, and literally sat down, ordered off the app, and within 20 seconds got my pint of Guinness. So incredibly fast service. And just having a look at the menu, so Sir Alexander Fleming, there's a picture of him on the front here. Now you might be wondering who he is. Well, this is a guy who in 1928, he was a doctor, and he actually worked in the hospital, just literally, I can see it through the window here, St Mary's Hospital, down here in Paddington. And in 1928, he went on holiday, and when he came back from holiday, he'd left one of his Petri dishes on the window, and that Petri dish had something growing in it. And he noticed that it was killing all of the other bacteria, and that was basically how Sir Alexander Fleming invented penicillin. So that was the birth of antibiotics, basically. So if you've ever been unwell, if you've had a throat infection or you've had any sort of infection and you've had antibiotics, you may well have had some penicillin. That was the modern day variant that he invented way back in those days. And this place is actually quite interesting, because before I get to the hospital, I would have to cross the canal here. And the canal in Paddington is the terminus. So this is the end point of a canal system that goes all the way through to Birmingham, which is around 100 miles from here. So back in the 1800s, the 19th century, the canal system was how everything was moved around. That was basically before motorways were invented, before cars were really invented as well. Everything was moved on boats. And so the canal system operated fantastically well. And this was the end point of the Grand Union Canal system that was built back then. Anyway, so that's the history of this place. The canal out front here is not used anymore for industrial purposes. They're not bringing in huge things, but there's still a lot of boats on there, and you can go pleasure cruising and all those sorts of things. And I'm not actually going to pick anything off the menu today, because it's the special Christmas menu is around. So it's the festive period. So we've got the Christmas menu, which is actually really quite substantial. So there's a lot of things in here. There's like 3 pages of all different things. So if you follow the channel, you'll know that I recently had the Christmas lunch, the turkey roast dinner, which wasn't really the best meal I've ever had in Wetherspoons. I've definitely had better ones than that. It was okay, but the turkey was a bit processed. There weren't any roast potatoes or sprouts on that dinner, which when you think about a Christmas dinner, they're basically 2 of the main ingredients. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the Christmas lunch. We're here to have a look at something else. So I thought I would pick something off the Deli Deals menu. So they have 3 different types on here. We've got a chicken stuffing and bacon panini, a brie cranberry a brie and cranberry panini, and a 12-inch southern fried chicken and stuffing wrap. Now, I almost went for that one because that does sound quite tasty, but I thought I would go traditional and have chicken, stuffing, and bacon panini. So we'll see what the Christmas version of the panini is like. So I've got my Guinness, and while I'm waiting for the food, I may as well try to do the split the G challenge. If you've been following me, you'll know that in the UK, people like to have their first drink and leave the head somewhere in the middle of the G in the Guinness. So let's have a go and see how I get on today. Perfect. That is as good as you're going to get in terms of splitting the G. That is absolutely brilliant. So I'm getting better at splitting the G. Let's see what the food's like at the Sir Alexander Fleming. So here is the chicken, bacon and stuffing panini. It's literally arrived about 10 seconds after I switched the camera off to say bye last time. So in terms of how long it's taken for the food and the drink to arrive, I already touched on the drink was instantaneous. This has been around about 4 minutes, which I would say is probably as long as it would take to cook this thing. So it's reasonably busy in here, even though it's only 12 o'clock. I'd say it's probably about a third full in here. Lots of people having breakfast and teas, and just basically it's a nice warm environment to hang around if you've got a meeting or you're doing something else. Anyway, let's talk about this panini. Well, the first thing to note about it is that the bread is quite soft. So this is more of what I would classify as a roll rather than panini. Sometimes paninis are very hard. This is not. It's, you can see it's sort of quite soft and flexible. Let's have a look what's inside, because obviously that's the key. Now you can see it's very hot. So we've got sausage, which has been, we've got chicken, which has been cut into a couple of slices. So I've only got 2 or 3 small pieces of chicken here. I've got a little bit of bacon on that side, and then I've got a smear of cranberry, and there's a tiny bit of stuffing I think is underneath that piece of bacon. Yeah, there's a bit of stuffing underneath the bacon. So not huge on the fillings on that side. Let's have a look if the other side's any better. Well, this side's got a lot more chicken in it. So it's basically half. That's where all the chicken is, and the bacon and the stuffing. So I'm going to eat that half because it's obviously got more filling and it's going to be more tasty. So it tastes quite nice. I'd say it's a bit soft. The whole thing's a bit soft. Now, normally with a panini, I'd expect it to be a bit more crispy. So I'm a bit disappointed with the bread. And the fillings themselves, let me have another bite. So the sausage doesn't really taste of that much. The stuffing, you get a little bit of flavour from that, and then the cranberry sauce and the chicken. So it's okay. It's not the tastiest panini I've ever had. Certainly had ones that have packed more of a punch. I think it's probably lacking a bit of cheese, because in a good panini, really to tie it together, if you have some melted cheese in there, it would bind everything together so it becomes more consistent. This basically is a bit like a chicken and bacon sandwich with a little bit of cranberry spread on it, and the bread's a bit disappointing, I think, as a panini go. It's okay. It's okay, but I would say compared to other things on the menu at Wetherspoons, particularly if you come and you buy whatever the promotion is. So we've got 4 different promotions each week. You have the small plates promotion on a Monday, burgers on a Tuesday. I think it's on Wednesday, which is today. I think it's curry club, and then it's pizza on a Thursday. If you buy something off the menu that's in those promotions, you get a really good deal. This, I think, is a bit disappointing. It's basically a little bit like a sandwich, and I think it's probably more expensive than buying an actual meal to buy this. And obviously this is more just a sandwich lunch snack rather than a full meal. So I think from a value for money point of view, it doesn't score as highly as a lot of the other things on the Wetherspoon menu. I mean, it's okay. Tastes okay. It's not the most flavoursome panini I've ever had. It doesn't really sell Christmas to me. I'm not thinking of Christmas when I'm eating this. It tastes mostly of the sausage. I think, you know, and this half here, I think it's a bit disappointing that there's really not a lot of filling in there. There was more in the first half. This half, mostly just bread, and that piece of bread there is just a bit dry. As I said, it's a bit floppy. I think overall, there's better things on the menu. I wouldn't really recommend ordering this because I think if you're ordering this and somebody's ordering whatever the promotion of the day is, and the curry club or the pizza club or burger club or small plates, you'd be looking at their thing, what they're eating enviously, because this is just like a sandwich basically, and not a particularly well filled sandwich. So let me finish the rest of this and I'll see you in a minute for the wrap up. Okay, so I've now finished my chicken, bacon and stuffing panini. So what did I think? Well, I wasn't really that impressed with it. I think the bread was okay, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for in terms of a panini. There wasn't enough filling in it, so it was half empty, which was a bit disappointing. But actually the filling that was in there didn't really sell Christmas to me. So I wanted more stuffing. I think that's the whole point of you having a Christmas panini. You really want something that's got lots of something to do with Christmas in it. Now, chicken isn't particularly Christmassy. You would have had turkey rather than chicken. Bacon is not really Christmassy. So stuffing was really the main ingredient. There was some cranberry sauce in there as well. So lots of stuffing, lots of cranberry sauce would have made it better. But there was a minimal amount in there. So it wasn't that great. In terms of the taste, it was okay. It was all right. But the whole point when you come to Wetherspoons is that you want to feel like you've got value for money. That's one of the main things here, is that whatever you order, you tend to get a big portion for not as much money as you would pay elsewhere. Now, in terms of what I paid, obviously, I've ordered on the app, which is fantastic. I think the app is a brilliant development. You can come in, sit down at your table, check your number, order your food, and within a minute or two, things will start arriving. So it is brilliant. It's like a revolution compared to the old days when you have to turn up and go to the bar, leave all your stuff unattended if you're on your own. Or, you know, if there's loads of people at the bar, you have to wait for yonks to get served, and then you get served, then you've got to find your table number, all of that. So you don't have to do any of that. So it is great that you can order on the app. So I ordered on the app, and the food came really quickly. So 10 out of 10 in terms of service time and turnaround, because Wetherspoons have this 10-minute rule where they're trying to get food to you within 10 minutes. They've smashed it pretty much every time I've been in here, and today it was maybe 3 or 4 minutes to get the food. So first class in terms of the service and the speed of turnaround. In terms of the price, well, I got the meal deal, so you get a drink included, and for my panini today, I paid, and this drink, it was £7.75. Now, if I put it in the context of how much this drink would cost me in the other pubs around here, I'm going to be paying £6, maybe £7, maybe even £7.75 for this drink. So when I put it into that context, maybe the panini wasn't a bad deal, because I'm essentially getting the food for free. But that's the Wetherspoon deal, but you get that every time. So I could have got something else with a drink included that would have been a similar price, maybe £1 or £2 more, because the paninis are a little bit cheaper than the other main courses. But in the context of Wetherspoons, £7.75, I could have got something else. So I sort of don't feel like I've got as much value for money today as I usually get when I come to Wetherspoons. Usually I come out of here thinking, wow, that was an absolute steal. I recently had a breakfast with a tea, and it was less than £5, and it was absolutely first class vegan breakfast. Definitely recommend that. Panini, not so much. So what's my overall score for the Christmas panini that is now on the Wetherspoons menu? Well, I wasn't really that enamoured with it. It wasn't as cheap as some of the other deals that you get in Wetherspoons. I'm going to give it a 5.5. And if you follow the channel, you'll know that if it's less than 7.5, then I wouldn't come back for this meal. This is a nice pub. I'd definitely come back to this pub. It's a great location, nice, bright, got high ceilings, tables are nicely spaced out, it's very modern. Unlike a lot of the other Wetherspoons pubs, this was a regeneration area project back in the late or the early 2000s. So this building is relatively new for Wetherspoons, so it's great. The pub, the location, the venue, everything's good about it. The panini, not as good as a lot of the other things on the menu, so I definitely would not come back and have this panini again. But fortunately, it's only on the Christmas menu, so it won't be around for that much longer anyway. Now, hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, then please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you again on the next video.